Hey everybody, before starting this week's episode, we wanted to stop and talk a little bit about the sponsor of our episodes, and that is Expedition Roasters, the artisanal roasters of pop culture inspired coffees.
You know, in these stressful times where we can't go to the parks and experience all of our favorite things and get those wonderful smells, it's nice to have a bit of that with us here at home, and you can definitely have that with Expedition Roasters.
Yeah, and there's a myriad of flavors that you could choose from depending on kind of what you want to reminisce about in a certain way. I mean, you could easily choose Route 66 Tire Fix, which is their morning blend coffee, which, you know, obviously is reminiscent of Cars.
Yes.
So imagine walking into Cars Land, the asphalt fresh with the water that is evaporating after they cleaned off the entire area, fresh in the morning. You just walked in the gates, something like that. Or you could do Fortune and Glory, which is their Indiana Jones inspired coffee, which is bourbon streusel.
That's so good.
So,
but my favorite is Happily Never After.
Yes, your favorite is Happily Never After, and I have to say that one of my favorites is the Wunderland Coffee Crumb Cake.
That's
good.
And
And for all you coffee drinkers out there, it is such a well-balanced mix of flavor and the actual coffee flavor.
And the bags are super pretty.
Yeah, the artwork on the bags are pretty incredible, and you could actually buy the art on the website itself, too.
Yeah.
From the actual bags.
Which you should, because it's so cool.
Yes. So if you find yourself needing a little bit of a pick-me-up, but you want to reminisce a little bit about the parks, I would highly suggest checking out Expedition Roasters, heading over to expeditionroasters.com and purchasing some coffee from them. You could definitely use our coupon code for your first time purchasing coffee, which is a Duo15 at checkout. And remember, brew your happy place. Expedition Roasters, an adventure in every bag.
Hi, and welcome to the Theme Park Duo podcast. Grab your park map, churro, and hop in line with us as we take you on a coast-to-coast adventure through the world of theme parks, haunts, conventions, and more. Now, here's your hosts, Nikki and Gabriel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Theme Park Duo podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Gabe.
And I'm Nikki.
And we are
the Theme Park Duo.
We hope you all had a very fun and safe 4th of July weekend.
We did.
We definitely, well,
Yeah.
both of them, we were safe and had fun.
Yes.
We smoked some meats.
Yeah.
Lots of meat.
I think you probably perked up people's interest when you said smoked, and then you said some meats.
So I perked up people's ears.
Yeah.
And then completely smashed their hopes and dreams.
Yeah, but then you also interested some other people.
Who are the meat smokers.
Yes.
Who roll joints that only have pure grass-fed beef in them.
They're rolled with bacon.
Oh, that sounds good. We're way off track already. This is the beginning of the episode.
Sorry.
This is not good, people. You're in for it today.
Okay, well, yeah. So we barbecued of sorts on the 4th of July. We sat on our rooftop and saw absolutely no fireworks. Well, like one or two.
We heard literally all the fireworks from everywhere for all time.
But we could see none because we were in a canyon.
It sounded... Well, we're not in a canyon.
Kind of.
The area we live is not a canyon.
It looks a little bit...
No one considers the area where we live a canyon.
There's hills on both sides. What do you call that?
That doesn't make it a canyon.
It's a narrow valley. Is it a narrow valley?
Maybe. Maybe. The valley isn't that far away from us, so
The valley is wide and expansive.
Moving on. We could hear every firework from LA.
Yeah.
In our little spot where we live, and it was ridiculous. It sounded like a war zone.
Because the booms echo off the valley walls.
Okay, moving on still.
Yeah.
We had a fun 4th of July weekend, and we hope all of you did as well.
Yeah.
We have a fun episode for you today. We have a history episode, finally. We did a poll not too long ago, kind of asking what everybody wants to hear. And finally, after all the episodes we already had planned, we're getting to the thing that people wanted to hear, which was a history episode.
Yeah.
So today we are going to be talking about the history of Disney's America.
Or lack of history.
Lack of history of Disney's America. Well, there's a lot of history there in trying to get it built, but it was not built. Spoiler alert. And we're going to be talking about all the different aspects to that story What the heck was that?
Someone's setting off some
That
poppers.
fireworks outside or
Yeah.
something again. It's July 5th. Stop it. We'll be talking about all the different aspects to why Disney's America isn't around.
Yep.
So it should be an interesting listen. Hopefully all of you guys like it. It's funny, the last 2 history episodes we've done have been about 2 Disney parks that have not come to fruition. We did Westcott and now this one.
I'm still depressed about the Westcott one.
Yeah, that one's a little rough. This one I don't think you'll feel that bad about.
No.
I have a sneaking suspicion you're going to be like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. I'm good.
I'm good
Yeah.
for that Disney's America. But it was very close to actually happening. So it should be an interesting piece of history here that we're all going to be privy to now. So,
Yeah.
But before we jump into the theme park bulletin, we want to recognize someone today, and that is BB Nugget. That's the name they left. Who left us a 5-star written review on iTunes.
Yay, another one.
Another one. And it says, cute couple makes a pleasant show, I think, because it just says ... but it won't let me see the rest of the title.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, slightly. Anyway, it says, I think the best description of this podcast is that it just feels good. It's not flashy or fancy, just a good listen that puts a smile on my face, which is a very apt description that I think is very accurate.
We are not flashy or fancy.
No, not at all.
We have no delusions of grandeur here.
You have delusions.
Not of grandeur.
Other things.
Yeah.
But not grandeur.
Yeah.
Grandeur is not one of them. Plenty of other delusions. I'm Abraham Lincoln.
What?
That's my delusion, is that I think I'm Abraham Lincoln.
That's your delusion,
Yeah,
not
today,
mine.
because we're going to be talking about Disney's America.
Yeah.
Come on, I have
Okay.
to fit thematically.
No, you don't.
We are the theme park duo. Theme is in the name.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, maybe I do have some type of delusions of grandeur. Maybe.
But not of Abraham Lincoln. That was.
I have delusions with a splash of grandeur and a splash of craziness. Delusions of craziness.
Yes.
I
Back
think
on
that's
track, Gabe. Come on.
it. Woo, this is bad. Anyway, thank you very much for that 5-star review. And as we always say, if you guys want to support the show, it's a free way to help us out. Go over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star written review. We shout you out here on the show. Always helps us out and makes it easier for people to find us and enjoy us like you are right now.
Yeah.
So make sure you head on over and do that for us if you could, please. So without further ado, let's jump right into
The theme park bulletin.
Today on the theme park bulletin, we have one piece of news that we're going to be covering today because the body of the episode today is going to be a lot. So
Yeah.
we don't want to spend too much time on news. But one of the bigger pieces of news that happened between last episode and this episode is the complete re-theme of Splash Mountain to Princess and the Frog.
I'm not that mad. I'm sad because, like, aside from the
Racial connotations of the original content.
aside from the original movie, which Splash Mountain is themed from, you know, like, none of that is in the ride. You know, you just have these cute characters that we've come to love and appreciate, like Brer Rabbit. And, you know, we bought the plush of Brer Rabbit, which I'm really glad we have now for Aaron. And, you know, there's just a familiarity and, you know, like a knowing of these characters. So I'm sad to see him go, but I'm not totally mad at the re-theme. Honestly, it's never a ride that I really ride anyway because I don't like being soggy in a theme park. So, you know.
You like being soggy other places?
Never.
So you just don't like being soggy?
I don't like being soggy.
Okay, just
but
checking.
especially in a theme park.
Okay, that is just like a hard no.
Yeah.
So you're a soft no on being soggy everywhere else.
Oh my God. Moving on from the word soggy.
Moist.
That's
Way worse.
You just lost half our listenership.
Probably.
Okay.
Probably. There wasn't many in the first place. Told you, no delusions of grandeur here. You know, I don't disagree. I do think that by having characters from a film that doesn't necessarily have the best perception or reputation, you are including some type of connection from the original meaning.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yes,
not saying there's
no,
not a connection.
No, the way you had said it seemed that way a little bit. But I do think that the ride kind of takes on a life of its own away from the film to a certain extent, to the point where people almost forget where those characters came from, especially kids who don't even know what the movie is.
That's exactly what I
know.
said. You reiterated what I said in a different way.
Sorry.
While telling me I was pretty much wrong.
And racist.
So,
Sorry.
yes, thank you for saying sorry.
Well, I agree with you.
Thank you.
Yes, kids don't know what the movie is. They only know what the characters are, and to them there's no horrible connotation to it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't detract from the fact that there is a connotation to those characters and a story that's connected to them that isn't necessarily as savory nowadays. And there's a reason why the film isn't in circulation.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Disney doesn't sell the movie, or stream it on Disney Plus, along with, Peter Pan or Dumbo, both portraying stereotypical depictions of people of color.
Yeah.
So there is a particular reason why Disney doesn't. So I don't disagree with the change because of that reasoning. There is a negative connotation to the film and the characters and all that kind of thing. I feel bad for people who are just blissfully unaware.
Yeah.
They're kind of blindsided by this.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it's important that people are aware of the history because I think, as we'll later have a discussion, the history is what's mostly important. The ride isn't what's important. The ride is never going to change. It's still going to have 3 drops in it. And There's still going to be water. There's still going to be a log. And there's still going to be story moments. That's never going to change. But what does need to change is exactly what that story is about.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't need to be there anymore, especially with the way things are changing. We just need to be very self-aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm okay with it. So I'm actually really excited to see Princess and the Frog kind of come to the limelight that it really truly deserves, because it actually is a really damn good movie and it deserves a good ride.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if they change any of the surrounding area with it.
Yes, especially because, Bear Country or Critter Country is really just because of Splash Mountain.
Yeah.
Which is weird because now we have Winnie the Pooh over there too.
Yeah.
What does that mean for Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah.
Is Winnie the Pooh going to get hunted down with all his friends in the 100-acre wood? Who knows?
Oh, Lord.
But, I mean, that whole area could potentially even become an extension of New Orleans Square at this point.
Yeah.
Because all of Princess and the Frog takes place in the bayou, in the quarter, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
New Orleans.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that the land would change along with the attraction.
Yeah.
That just doesn't leave much room for Pooh.
Did you say it like that on purpose?
I'll leave it up to people's imaginations.
Well, because you also said when you were talking about Splash Mountain, you said there will always be logs, and I wanted to make a poop joke so bad, and I didn't. And then when you said
made one anyway.
No, so then when you said that there won't be room for poo, I just internally lost it. Like something just snapped in me.
Nikki has the sense of humor of a 5-year-old.
Well, it's like in Friends when Chandler is interviewing for a job, and his interviewer says "duty" a lot, and Chandler's like trying to keep it straight.
The fact that I'm laughing at it.
No, and then at the end of the interview, Chandler, the interviewer was like, "Okay, great job, we'll call you," and he's like, "Yeah, thank you. I almost lost it at duty." So he completely bombs it after the interview's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes, I kind of didn't mean it in that way. So
we tell poo jokes.
That's the high class episode.
Yeah.
This is.
We're flashy, and what was the other word?
Fancy and flashy,
yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
Fancy and flashy.
But anyway, the Disney Parks blog obviously released a giant piece on the new edition coming to the park, and I'll read a little bit of that right now. It says, "Today we are thrilled to share our first glimpse of a project Imagineers have been working on since last year. Splash Mountain at both Disneyland Park in California and Magic Kingdom Park in Florida will soon be completely reimagined. The theme is inspired by an all-time favorite animated Disney film, The Princess and the Frog. We pick up this story after the final kiss and join Princess Tiana and I don't know why, Lewis. For some reason, I was like, that's not the prince's name. Totally caught myself there. And Lewis on a musical adventure featuring some of the powerful music from the film as they prepare for their first ever Mardi Gras performance. Tiana is a modern, courageous, empowered woman who pursues her dreams and never loses sight of what's really important. It's a great story with a strong lead character set against the backdrop of New Orleans and the Louisiana Bayou. In 1966, Walt himself opened New Orleans Square when it became the first new land added to Disneyland Park, so it feels natural to link the story and the incredible music of Princess and the Frog to our parks. The approach to retheming, or, quote, plussing attractions, as Walt Disney referred to it, begins with Imagineers asking the question, how do we build upon or elevate the experience and tell a fresh, relevant story? It's a continuous process that Imagineers are deeply passionate about, and with this long-standing history of updating attractions and adding new magic, the retheming of Splash Mountain is of particular importance today. The new concept is inclusive, one that all of our guests can connect with and be inspired by, and it speaks to the diversity of millions of people who visit our parks each year. So, I mean, obviously there's a lot more to it than just that, but we'll leave it at that for now. I think that it is a very poignant way of saying it needs to change.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a lot of people out there. I saw one person arguing that Princess and the Frog was more racist than Splash Mountain, which I will politely say, you are an idiot.
Yeah. Don't give it any time to.
That person didn't even watch the movie. They admitted they didn't even watch the movie.
They like Spark Notes it off of a website or something.
Yeah, like they read some other article that said it was racist and read a description of the movie from there. They didn't even Wikipedia the description of it or IMDb it. You know, they just read it off of another article, and they called Prince Naveen white.
Yeah, no. Let's not stop even
It's
giving any
shocking.
time to the idiocy.
Well, I didn't give them the name of that person.
That's true.
That's because I don't remember it. But no, it's just shocking to me. But yes, I do think that there is a point to it, and it's funny because in the last 6 months, this idea has popped up a few times that I've seen on Twitter, and I find it very interesting that that has popped up and now it's happening. I mean, maybe there was a leak somewhere and someone started talking about it. Who knows how that happened.
Well, I think it's been in the works for a while.
It said a year.
Yeah, because like just the fact that they're saying that. Are they saying that when the parks reopen, it'll already be changed?
No, I don't think they ever said that.
Oh, I don't know where I got that from. Never mind.
I mean, I didn't read the entire thing right there, so I mean, maybe at the end of it, it's like,
know.
hey, kiss Splash Mountain goodbye, because we come back, it's gonna be totally different.
I don't know. I guess I just assumed that because they pulled all the merch.
Yeah, they pulled all the merch off the website.
If nothing else, it'll be closed when the park reopens.
Who knows? I mean, I don't remember seeing a date on the website, so I don't want to assume or say anything about that.
I'm assuming away.
Don't assume away. That's bad.
Well, but I'm telling everyone I'm assuming, so don't take anything.
You know what they say when people assume?
Shut up.
No, that's not what they say. That's not what they say at all.
I feel like you're setting me up for another joke. I don't want to be a joke.
Wait, have you really not heard that saying?
No. Oh,
Wait.
It makes an ass out of you.
Yes, you and me.
You and me.
But that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say something else. But yes,
no,
that's
I
actually
know
what
you
it
were
is.
going to say something else. You were going to make a joke about me.
Possibly. I mean, the track record of the show would be saying yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm in a mood tonight. Don't cross me.
I have already, and you've done nothing.
I've glared at you, but the listeners...
Those glares sting.
The listeners can't
Just a
see
little
that.
bit.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I'm genuinely excited about the change coming to Splash Mountain. I'm glad I rode the ride when I went with my friends that one time right before everything started to close. I mean, there's not much to say about it. I think it needs a change. I'm excited for the change. I like Princess and the Frog. I think there's a lot of opportunities to play with really scary things. Hopefully they'll find a way to bring Facilier back, because Facilier is probably one of the best parts of the movie itself.
I don't think he'll be in it.
It's such a bummer because, you know, the section of Splash Mountain where it's laughing place is almost perfect for Friends on the Other Side. And having something truly scary, because Splash Mountain gets kind of dark.
Yeah.
But you could go really scary with Friends on the Other Side.
I think if anything, they'll have another Mama Odie part.
Another Mama Odie part? Oh, yeah. Well, I would assume that. I would assume a lot of Lewis.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. You'll probably see Evangeline and Ray
Yeah,
at some point
in
in
the
the sky as
sky.
stars or something,
Yeah.
like in the ending scene where we had like the riverboat, things of that nature. So, I mean, it'll be interesting, and I do expect them to bring some digital aspects to the attraction too, with
Yeah.
digital projections to create more landscapes and backgrounds, kind of what they've been doing to a lot of the traditional dark rides in Fantasyland and even
Guarantee
other new rides.
The riverboat will still be there. They won't have to change much there. Take off the animatronics and just put something else there, like a jazz band.
The scale seems off for that.
It'll still be there.
They're going to be
Watch.
giant humans on a very tiny steamboat.
Well, I said take off the animatronics. They can change the scale.
Okay. I'm just going to move on.
Mark my words.
I'm just moving on.
You heard it here first. Nikki's predicting it. The riverboat will still be there.
I'm going to call that riverboat is going to move and or change or just completely
Well,
go.
it could move.
It could move, yes.
It could move.
It could move.
Yeah.
But yes, I am expecting them to change that scene significantly.
Okay.
That includes removal of that steamboat.
No, but I don't think so.
I definitely 100% think so.
Okay.
You know what the bright side to all of this is? Star Tours is getting a lot of droids added to their attraction. A lot of droids. Because basically, if you didn't know that under the skin of a lot of those creatures in there, it's just basically the droids from Star Tours attraction.
Yeah.
The ones in line talking to you. So there you go. You're getting a lot of that. Yes. But let's waste no more time and no more banter and sidetracks.
Sorry. I'm not sorry.
And get into the main topic of this week's episode, and that is the history of Disney's America. Disney's America was a planned theme park that was to have been built by Disney in Haymarket, Virginia in the early 1990s. The park was to have been dedicated to the history of the United States. And in 1990, Eisner and the team of executives flew out to Virginia where they visited Colonial Williamsburg, a living history village of restored and recreated historical buildings dating to 1699. Unique for its Disney-like exclusion of the outside world, Colonial Williamsburg is a 173-acre village whose streets are open to the public. That's actually kind of cool. I actually find that really interesting that it's, history based, but it almost is feels like the like a ghost town at Knott's Berry Farm, but history based of like America.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I kind of dig that. Allegedly, Eisner and his team were inspired by their visit. Not only was Eisner said to take particular interest in the stories he'd read, but he also began to envision Disney's ability to become a part of a beautiful forested hills of eastern Virginia.
Eisner and his team immediately set to work scouting the Prince William County area for property. They found it, purchasing or holding options for nearly 3,000 acres outside Haymarket, Virginia, strategically about 40 miles west of Washington, D.C., and within the market of both King's Dominion and Busch Gardens Williamsburg amusement parks.
What I find interesting about that is the fact that that area isn't normally where Disney would plop a theme park.
Yeah.
Normally Disney plops theme parks that have a lot of infrastructure, infrastructure that they could kind of adjust.
Yeah.
In places that could kind of handle that kind of influx of literally everything that a park like that could do. And I'm not just talking about like streets and energy. I'm talking about sewers, water lines, literally everything.
I think at this point, they have money, obviously, but also it's like they don't want to get into a situation where they're stuck like Disneyland, where they don't have options.
Yeah, because they're completely landlocked at Disneyland.
Yeah, so I think they went for the options route rather than the infrastructure already there route.
Totally.
Yeah. While plans might have initially called for Disney to fill the whole Virginian property, the 1992 opening and subsequent disastrous financial meltdown of Disneyland Paris changed the Disney parks landscape. Disneyland Paris was historically overbuilt and massively undervalued by locals. Eisner famously commented, "Everything is possible, including closure," and "I don't know whether a private company can ever spend this kind of money." We know that Eisner would be humbled by his experience with the French park. In his 1998 memoir, Work in Progress, he wrote, "Chastened by the rising costs of Euro Disney, we began to look for ways to develop smaller-scale theme parks. In other words, Eisner backed down from the epic, elaborate, full-scale resort strategy and, of course, would go to cancel or cost-cut every major project Disney had in the pipeline for decades. It stood to reason that Disney's future might lie in smaller regional parks. Disney could build seasonal properties that would compete with parks like King's Dominion and Busch Gardens. The Virginia property fit the bill."
On November 11th of 1993, still reeling from Disneyland Paris, Disney announced Disney's America, a brand new theme park set to open in Virginia in 1998. The park would be unlike anything Disney had done before. Certainly it would be smaller, adequately sized for its seasonal stature and placement among other regional parks, but would still feature a resort hotel, golf course, RV park, and retail center. As for the park's broaching of sensitive topics, this was a little shocking to me right here. Disney's senior vice president Bob Weiss offered, "This is not a Pollyanna view of America. We want to make you a Civil War soldier. We want to make you feel what it was like to be a slave or what it was like to escape through the Underground Railroad." Peter Rummel, president of Disney Design and Development, doubled down. "An intelligent story properly told shouldn't offend anybody, but we won't worry about being politically correct." That whole thing right there is so troubling to me.
It's terribly troubling for something that is essentially, an amusement park. And I understand where they were coming from. They, like, in my head, I can only hope and
They're
assume.
not coming from a bad place.
No, in my head, I can only hope and assume that they were coming from a perspective of, like, they wanted to, if anyone here knows what I'm talking about, if they've ever been to LA and been to the Museum of Tolerance, there's a section in there where literally you are put, it's all about, concentration camps. So there's literally a part where, you see a wall of clothing and shoes that, they would have the prisoners take off before they put them into the gas chambers. And you actually walk into a gas chamber. Yeah. And it's a very all-encompassing experience. And you feel whatever portion of you can feel what it was like to be them. And I get that is probably what they were trying to do. But there's a difference between a museum that experience is in and a theme park where you can, quote, experience what it's like to be a slave and then go off and have a churro. There's a difference.
There's a very big difference. And I think a lot of it has to do with the juxtaposition of everything else that's happening in the park, like you said. Yeah. Unlike a museum setting where, there's a certain sanctity that yes. comes with it. Yeah. That doesn't happen at a theme park. And to assume that people are going to come to a theme park and want to figure out what it feels like to be a slave, be a piece of property to another human being, is completely ignorant. Mm-hmm. Completely and utterly ignorant. And not only undermines the amount of people who've lost their lives being slaves and a piece of property to people. Yeah. It undermines the entirety of the fight for equality, too. Yeah. So it's shocking. I mean, yeah, it's the 90s. Yeah. I get it that things were a bit different back then. That's not too long ago. Mm-hmm. But that's wild. Yeah. That's wild. Yeah. It's like we're going to have you feel like what it's like to escape through the Underground Railroad with this launch roller coaster through a tunnel and up the hill. It's just like, really, guys? Yeah. Really? You want people to feel like slaves?
It was just in bad taste.
You want people to feel like they're warriors in the Civil War? Yeah, I'm a soldier fighting for slavery. Yeah. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, it's just, it's bonkers. Yeah. I mean, I could go on a little bit longer than that, but I'll digress. This new theme park that they were planning on building had a whole bunch of different lands, and they were all kind of interconnected, and each land kind of connected to each other because they were all in chronological order in different parts of America's history.
So the lands. We would enter Disney's America passing under an 1840s train trestle. Once inside, we find ourselves in Crossroads, USA, a bustling 1800s town. Crossroads, USA is a spirited portrait of mid-19th century commerce. Crossroads USA would have been the hub of Disney's America, launching guests on an unforgettable journey through the vivid tapestry of American history. An 1840 train trestle bridge would have marked the entrance of this territory and supported 2 antique steam trains that visitors could board for a trip around the park's 9 territories. Traveling counterclockwise around the park's central lagoon, we would find ourselves back in time along the red brick colonial streets of New England. This, of course, would be President's Square.
From the struggle of the colonists and the War of Independence to the formation of the United States and its government, President's Square would have celebrated the birth of democracy and the patriots who fought to preserve it. Through the use of Disney's audio-animatronic technology, guests could have met these American heroes in the Hall of Presidents, a moving account of the making of our nation. An outdoor amphitheater around the corner bridges the gap to the next themed land, Native America.
Native America would have explored the life of America's first inhabitants, their accord with the environment, and the timeless works of art they created long before European colonization. Guests would have visited an Indian village representing such eastern tribes as the Powhatans, or join a harrowing Lewis and Clark raft expedition, which would be Disney's first river rafting ride. It is likely that the Rapids ride would have passed scenes of wildlife and other natural wonders encountered by the cross-country expedition.
I find it funny that you said, "I'm sorry, Gabe," because I'm Native American and I study Native American history and culture. And yet you looked to me because you couldn't pronounce the Native American tribe name.
If I had faith in myself, I would have been able to pronounce it, but I didn't want to butcher it, so I just apologized.
Out of respect.
I just apologized and handed it to you to say. Continuing onward, the Civil War fort, jetting out into the artificial Freedom Bay, is the park's Tom Sawyer Island equivalent, inviting us to climb, explore, and imagine what it might have been like to be a citizen of a country torn in half. The Civil War fort, emblematic of our nation's greatest crisis. The Civil War fort would have allowed guests to experience the reality of a soldier's daily life inside. The use of Disney's Circle Vision 360 technology would have transported visitors into the center of the Civil War combat. Outside, they would have encountered an authentic reenactment of a period battle or gather along Freedom Bay for a thrilling nighttime spectacular based on the historic confrontation between Monitor and the Merrimack.
The eastern half of the park now advances into the 20th century, beginning with the family farm. Family farm would have paid homage to the working family and the working farm, the heart of early American families. Borrowing from Williamsburg, this living exhibition allows you and I to get up close with real farm animals and the tools and instruments used by the Midwest family who lived there. We could also explore their homestead and the acres of gardens and fields surrounding. Visitors could have seen how crops were harvested, learned how to make handmade ice cream, or milked a cow. Man, how far they have fallen if entertainment is grabbing on some udders.
Those poor cows.
And stepping into the shoes of that family, we can imagine the excitement when the State Fair rolls into town just up the path. State Fair would have celebrated small-town America to play with nostalgic recreation, aka recreating a Depression-era fair, of such popular rides as a 60-foot Ferris wheel and a wooden roller coaster, as well as a tribute to the country's favorite pastime, baseball. Amid a backdrop of rolling cornfields, fans could have had a hot dog and took a seat in an authentic, old-fashioned ballpark and watch America's legendary greats gather for an exhibition all-star competition. So, question, when they say America's all-time greats, are they talking about historical figures, or are they talking about baseball legends?
You know they're talking about baseball legends.
I really hope that they're talking about watching like George Washington pitching to Abraham Lincoln.
That would be a game I would love
Theodore
to watch.
Roosevelt is at first base.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be pretty great.
That'd be a pretty cool game.
Mm-hmm.
We next arrive in Victory Field, the sprawling military aviation base, showing us the realities faced by servicemen in the world wars. With the assistance of modern technology, guests at Victory Field could have parachuted from a plane or operated tanks and weapons in combat, and experienced firsthand what America's soldiers have faced in defense of freedom. While some early plans allegedly called for dueling roller coasters here, The interwoven tracks of dogfighting American and German coasters was dropped for a number of good reasons, if it ever existed. Victory Fields connects to Enterprise, modeled after an industrial manufacturing town. Exhibits on the street level of this land highlight the role of industry in the American story through the 1930s. The factory town of Enterprise would have played host to inventions and innovations spawned by the ingenuity and can-do spirit that captured America to the forefront of the industry. The signature attraction of this area would have been an indoor-outdoor steel coaster, which would take riders through dark scenes. The finale scene would call for riders to escape red-hot steam of active blast furnaces. That sounds a lot like Thunder Mountain.
Slightly. I like how you skip words sometimes.
Oh, really?
When you read, yeah, because dark ride scenes, not just dark scenes, because that would be boring.
I didn't even see the word ride. Oops.
Oops. Information for the show. Who needs it? The final land, We the People, would theoretically be the park's most moving. Framed by a building resembling Ellis Island, We the People would have recognized the courage and triumph of our immigrant heritage, from the earliest native settlers to the latest political refugees. A powerful multimedia attraction, We the People would have explored and explained how the conflicts among these varied cultures continued to help shape the nation. So it's an interesting concept that the entirety of the park is taking place in this chronological order. I think that's actually very interesting and a little bit different. I do think you're running into some issues because the history of the United States and the people running the government and the unsavoriness of different historical events is very hard to play in a theme park setting.
Yeah.
Although they're trying to go with, as he stated at the beginning of all this, they are not going for sensitivity. And if they're not trying to be politically correct, they're just kind of laying it all out there. I find it very hard to believe that a theme park that is meant to be fun and happy is going to be really displaying the evils of the world.
Yeah.
to put it completely simply. And, although the Native American area sounds great, they probably are not going to touch upon how they completely stole the land.
Yeah.
And completely went against treaties and things of that nature. That probably wouldn't be touched upon. It never is. It's always never. It's almost never talked about.
Yeah.
When it comes to those particular moments in history, when theme parks do touch upon them. Knott's Berry Farm didn't do it.
Yeah.
Disneyland didn't do it early in the days when they had a Native American village.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. They never talk about it. It's always a romanticized vision of what Native American culture is and the history between the United States and Native Americans.
Yeah, and as much as they said, in the beginning of us, what we read, as much as they said it would be a real experience, like, or like nitty gritty, I think at the end of the day, if this park was built, it would have been romanticized. It would have been.
It would have to
sugar coated.
Who wants to pay to be?
Yeah.
Who wants to pay to be told to your face with your family, your ancestors stole the land from Native Americans, even the ground that we stand on?
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
You go to different places to get that information. That's history books.
Yeah.
You read books to learn about that. You don't go to a theme park to be told that.
Yeah, and like the area that this park would have been built in, it's surrounded by actual battle sites, actual memorials. So it's hard. It would be so hard to go from that real life stuff and then all of a sudden go to a park where it's kind of like brutally.
It's Disneyfied.
Yeah.
It's Disneyfied.
Yeah.
It's history told through Disney vision.
Mm-hmm.
And in certain aspects of that isn't a bad thing, because I do think Disney has a way of being able to make things palatable and accessible, which is fine. Disney has always been very poignant when it comes to learning and mixing learning with excitement and entertainment, but I don't think that kind of stuff is what needs to be fun.
Yeah.
I think that really undermines a lot of the pain and suffering that happens for the people who had to experience it and the ancestors of those people.
And especially in the location where it is, it's not the right place for it. You know, not surrounded by those actual places. You know,
if you have the real place,
yeah,
why do you have to go to this fake place to learn about it?
Exactly.
So now, unfortunately, none of these attractions and lands would ever come to be. The cancellation of Disney's America was rather complicated and happened for many reasons.
Public pressure. Though polls showed that a majority of Virginians supported Disney's America, a prominent group of historians called Project Historic America.
Protect
oh my God. Okay.
Historic America.
I'm reading this off my phone. It's very small.
I am also reading it off my phone.
Yeah, but you're the one that put it on the phone.
That is true.
So I'm reading it for the first time. You jerk.
Protect and project are two different words, though. Just saying.
By one letter. One teeny letter.
That's like saying, I would have won, but I lost by 1 point. Just by 1 point. W is still a W. L's is still L. Sorry.
I will mic drop and just storm out of here.
Fine with me. At least I'll be on track and can pronounce words.
Stop. Oh my God, you're so mean tonight.
I
said earlier that I'm sensitive and
no, you didn't say you were sensitive. You said that you're in a mood.
I'm in a mood.
But
what do you think that
means?
Was
a sensitive mood.
No, that mood is just a slightly irritated already mood for no apparent reason. So don't make fun of me. Okay. A prominent group of historians called Project Historic America.
Protect Historic America. You did it again. You did it again.
Oh no.
You want me to take
just
this paragraph?
fire me.
You want me to take this paragraph?
You also just handed me this paragraph with a look. Like, I was just here chilling, like, okay, Gabe's reading this part, and then you just, like, looked at me.
Because it was your turn to read.
You didn't tell me that. You should have put N and G next to the paragraphs.
Let's blame me for not being able to pronounce the word protect. Project Historic America. You want to read? Do you want to read it or not?
It doesn't not make sense.
That's true, but it's not correct. Do you want to read it or not?
I'll read it.
Read it correctly this time.
Okay. Though polls showed that a majority of Virginians supported Disney's America, a prominent group of historians called Protect Historic America launched an He's laughing at me.
I'm sorry. I was hoping you wouldn't mess it up again.
I didn't.
Now she really can't read it. I'm going to read it.
No, you read it.
Launched an all-out assault on the project, calling it a commercial blitzkrieg that would desecrate the ground over which men fought and died, perhaps owning to the fact that he'd face similar resistances in the building of Disneyland Paris. Eisner was prepared. He went on a damage control PR spree, refuting it's private land that is not in the middle of a historic area and calling out Protect Historic America's academic members, saying, I sat through many history classes where I read some of their stuff and I didn't learn anything. It was pretty boring. Boom, mic drop from Eisner.
Yeah.
Sick burn, bro.
Okay, the next reason is cultural competition. Numerous historic sites, museums, and nonprofits spoke out against Disney's America, fearing that Disney's highly publicized revenue-generating theme park would be one too many tourist attractions for the D.C. area and would cannibalize nonprofit organizations like Colonial Williamsburg. Staggering stimulus, lousy logistics. Of course, the opening of a Disney theme park near the historic Triangle would bring an estimated 35,000 vehicles per day, tearing into the area. As a result, the physical infrastructure around Disney property would need a massive overhaul, with over $163 million in funding requested from the state of Virginia for road improvement and relocation costs, while locals imagined the motels and fast food strip malls that would doubtlessly follow. A further $50 million would need paid by the county to prep water and sewer lines, all while Disney was awarded tax subsidies and reimbursements. What's more, Disney executives privately began to ponder whether the regional park model was for them, After all, such smaller parks would, by design, be farther from metropolitan areas, lack surrounding infrastructure, and, for most America at least, would only be open seasonally. Even in the fairly warm Virginia, Disney's America would only be open 7 days a week during the summer and early fall before transitioning to weekends only, then closing from January through March. A business model familiar to regional park operators, but seriously cutting into Disney's expected revenue.
Reality stinks. Frankly, it's hard to imagine why Michael Eisner, a man who inherited the 2-year-old Epcot at the height of its most classic and beloved form, and apparently had no idea what to do with it or what it should be, would even be interested in a park determined to present the realities, messiness, and hard truths of history without Disney characters, popular IPs, or Disney's signature idealism. The most hard-hitting criticism of Disney's America would be the difficulty in addressing the realities of American history. Even after all of the pushback, Michael Eisner didn't back down just yet. He set out to redesign the park to address the public criticism that so many had for Disney's version of American history. This gave way to Disney's American Celebration. Eisner had his team draw up plans for the property just a little differently. This new concept would depoliticize and dehistorize the park, opting for a cultural exposition of what makes America great in Epcot-style pavilions.
The Family Pavilion, featuring a multimedia show about a family's evolutions through the 20th century. The Work Pavilion, reportedly including factory tours of modern American industry partners like Apple, Crayola, and Ben & Jerry's.
Oh, imagine a Ben & Jerry's instead of a theme park. Oh, God. That sounds amazing.
Okay, so in most factory tours, you get something at the end. So you would get a scoop of ice cream, some crayons, and an iPad.
That sounds amazing. I'm
yeah.
down.
No, because, I mean, that's how tours work. I took an M&M factory tour. You get a bag of dud M&Ms.
Yeah. And at the end of tortilla tour at California Adventure back in the day, you get tortillas.
Yeah, at the sourdough bread one, you get the bread at the beginning.
Oh, my God. Does that mean you'll get an iPad at the beginning?
No, just at the end.
Oh.
Traditional. You take a Guinness factory tour in Ireland, you get a Guinness at the end. You have to pay for it.
I'd rather have that than an iPad right now. A nice cold Guinness.
Why did you whisper? It's creepy.
A nice cold Guinness.
Okay. Are you picking up?
The Service and Sacrifice Pavilion. Oh, that is a wonderful name.
Eee.
Service and Hey, guys, where you guys want to grab drinks? Service and Sacrifice Pavilion sounds great. They have really good lagers. A monumental veterans memorial. Oh my God, this is even worse. Including a time-traveling attraction through moments of American conflict, artifact exhibitions, and interactive areas to try out military training. The Creativity and Fun Pavilion. My God, they really didn't spend time in the naming. Offering historic attraction recreations from Coney Island, as well as the replicas of historic sports fields for exposition-style ball game. The Land Pavilion. That sounds familiar. Offering an attraction through the landscapes of the country through the seasons and centuries, as well as a petting zoo and nature walk through Virginia's legendary forests. Then lastly, the Streets of America, a cross-country dining district with mini streetscapes recreating New York, New Orleans, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Chicago, with the associated cuisine of each on display.
Even still, Disney's American Celebration barely made it out of brainstorming. That's why the names are so bad.
Yeah, you could totally tell.
On September 28th, 1994, Michael Eisner announced that Disney was officially canceling its plans to build a history-themed park in Virginia. But that didn't mean Disney's America was done. Just when it seemed that Disney's America might well and truly be scrapped, an unusual opportunity presented itself on the other side of the country. In the mid-90s, Knott's Berry Farm in Buena Park went up for sale, and executives at Walt Disney Company saw plenty of potential in the park, especially by using it to expand past the landlocked Disneyland Resort a mere 7 miles away. Disney moved forward with negotiations with plans to completely
redesign.
You typed resin.
I did. I totally typed resin. Redesign. It was an autocorrect.
Redesign and renamed the park Disney's America.
Shocking. Disney's America. Their plans allegedly included expanding the park's entrance across Beach Boulevard to the Independence Hall recreation to form President's Square as a new entry land, which would include Hall of Presidents, carving the park's fabled Mystery Lodge and Rapids Ride, rethemed to Lewis and Clark River Expedition. And to me, I found that funny because the description for the Lewis and Clark River Expedition mysteriously sounds like what the Calico River Rapids is now. Like,
Yeah.
you go by nature and you see animals and all this stuff. That's what it is now. And it would go into a new Native American territory, transforming the Roaring Twenties into their planned enterprise, land, and more. Unfortunately, transporting guests back and forth between Disneyland proper and Knott's would have been costly and complicated. At one point, planning on building a monorail system and utilizing buses to get guests back and forth, but the distance really hindered the park hoppability of the plans. Ultimately, the Knott family were really hesitant to sell to Disney, fearing their father's legacy would be erased and much of Walter and Cordelia's influence would be removed.
Funny enough, the Knott family sold Knott's to Cedar Fair, who arguably removed much more of the Knott legacy than Disney would have. But at least they kept the name.
And that is the history of Disney's America. Literally, as after Knott's pretty much turned down Disney,
It was dead.
It was dead in
Yeah.
the water. There was no more Disney's America. But that doesn't mean, as many people say, good ideas never go away. So a lot of the ideas of Disney's America went off and became other attractions, other lands,
Yep.
and things of that nature. Obviously potentially Disney's first river raft ride, which was the Lewis and Clark expedition. We got Grizzly River Rapids and a few other things that I'm sure kind of came out of Disney's America at different theme parks in different areas around the Disney parks throughout the world. So it's interesting. It's an interesting concept of what Disney's America was, especially now in today's culture.
Yeah.
The way people are starting to talk about things. I could definitely see people having a very big problem with this park.
Yeah, definitely.
And I can't imagine that there wouldn't be massive changes that would happen to it if that place actually got built.
Yeah, and it depends on, it's all, theoretical because nothing actually got built. So who's to say what the end result would have been that we would have ended up with as a park. So,
But even today, over that period of time, the changes that potentially could have happened
yeah, definitely.
to the park between when it should have opened and now.
Yeah.
Who knows what it could have been. It could have easily been transformed into that secondary idea that they had.
Yeah.
That was it called Disney's American Celebration?
Yeah.
Or something?
Which honestly sounded terrible. Like, I like the concept of Disney's America way more than that American Celebration debacle.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed, it was like a last-ditch effort, and you could tell it was a last-ditch effort. And it's actually quite sad because it didn't feel like a lot of energy went into the naming.
Yeah.
It was just bad all around.
Yeah.
But, history went a certain way against Disney here, and that's what ended up happening. I mean, unfortunately, because of the very poor reception of Disneyland Paris, we also got another park that didn't do very well, but obviously got a little bit different later on in its life, which was Disney's California Adventure.
Yeah.
So the idea of building smaller parks with tiered openings, like opening a park and it's not fully 100% a Magic Kingdom or Disneyland.
Yeah.
It's a much smaller park that you build upon later and make better later, was an idea that they wanted to do, and it simply just was not being received very well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, clearly received very well, and thank you for pointing that out. And they definitely ditched that concept eventually.
Yeah.
With failure after failure, and now, years and years later, we see the success of Disney's Shanghai resort over there. And that is a full-fledged park, it seems. To a certain extent, of course, there's room for expansion.
Everything always has room, yeah.
But to a certain extent, it was a much better reception than Disney's California Adventure. But then again, Disney's California Adventure was kind of a crap idea.
Let's not talk about Disney's California Adventure.
Yes.
Let's just not.
Yeah.
Everyone knows.
Depressing.
We've talked about it. Everyone knows.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that is the history of Disney's America. It is a long, arduous history.
Thank you for sticking with us.
Yes, with Michael Eisner trying very hard to fight the good fight. At least for him, it was a good fight.
Yeah.
But just it did not end up working. And unfortunately, the majority of people who lived in Virginia were totally okay with it happening. It was just the noisy minority that really did not want it happening.
Yeah.
For certain aspects, I mean, I don't think they're necessarily wrong. If Disney's America got built and, being built in an area that has a lot of historical lands and museums of sorts and nonprofit museums and things, could potentially put a lot of those out of business.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe it was a good thing it didn't get built.
Maybe.
So hopefully you guys really enjoyed this week's episode. A lot of really cool information there from Disney history. So like we always say, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you head on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star written review. It always helps us out, makes it easier for us to be found by everyone so they can enjoy us like you are right now. You can always follow us on all the social media platforms. When you talk to people, talk to us on social media, it's me. It's me.
Yeah,
it's not
it's
Nikki.
Gabe. It's always Gabe.
It's always me.
He might refer to me sometimes.
No, I refer to myself.
Or you say us.
Most of the time I talk as
we.
us.
You say we.
But then when I say something that's from me,
yeah,
I'll put -Gabe. So people know it's me.
Yeah. Good.
So other people probably think it's you talking. So I'll put a lot of really rude things. And you'll know
No,
you'll know
it's never
Nikki.
me.
But then when I say, that's rude, we shouldn't talk like that, -Gabe, it's me.
Oh my God, don't do that to me. That's so mean.
I'm just joking. I won't do that.
No.
I promise. But if you wanted to follow us on social media and hear all of my nonsense and quick-witted GIF responses, you can, on Twitter.
I love a good GIF.
Love a good GIF. You can always follow us at Theme Park Duo on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you want to send us an email, you can always email us at
themeparkduo@gmail.com.
And thank you again for listening to this week's episode. And always remember,
There's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. See ya.
Thanks for riding with the Theme Park Duo. Make sure to gather all your belongings before the end of the podcast. Bye-bye.